Now, we're going to have our next speaker is going to be Scott Nance. Some of you know Scott, but Scott works here at Access Living. He's an activist in his other life. And he's here, he works on the Ombudsman team, and he's going to tell you more about what they do and how you might use their services. And, you know, we live in a time where I call it the age of austerity, when it's harder and harder to get services. So it becomes more and more important to have advocates on your side. And the Ombudsman Program can be that. So here's Scott, and he's going to talk about Ombudsman.
Hi, everybody. Is this working? Is this better? Okay, so does everyone have a flyer that kind of looks like this in front of them? Everyone get a copy of this? If you didn't, or if the language that you've received is not accessible to you, it's one side English, the other side Spanish. But if you would prefer, I brought a whole bunch of other flyers that are available in Braille, 44 large font. There's Arabic, Chinese, Cyrillic, Korean, Polish, and I'm forgetting one, but there's another one back there, so I apologize for that. But there's a whole ton of different languages that are available back there, so whatever's more accessible to you, I invite you to grab a copy. I further invite you to grab an additional set of copies so that you can share this information with any of your friends, family, loved ones, neighbors, because this isn't just information. This is power. This is power of voice and choice. Was someone going to applaud for a second? Because I'll take a break for that. Applaud then. Yeah, this is power. Who doesn't want more of that? Right? It is our civil right. It is our constitutional right to have a life of dignity and choice and to know what those choices are. However, as Tom mentioned, we're in an age where information denied is a sense of control that's over us in an attempt to deny us those civil rights. Yeah, we can boo for that. So this is a program that's actually been around for over 30 years, but it was just for seniors, folks 60 and better, who were living in institutional settings, who were living in nursing facilities, supported living environments, things of this nature. A few years ago, in 2013, the law was expanded to include seniors who were living in their own homes in the community, whether that was rental or ownership or senior housing, but without the assisted living piece, okay, so, or subsidized housing, things of this nature. But then it was also expanded to include people with disabilities who were living in the home and community and in institutional settings. They call it long-term care. So the two designations are long-term care and then home and community. The long-term care piece is covered by the city of Chicago by a cool guy named Bernard Cobbins. The home and community piece is done by the folks who do it best, Access Living. Right, that's us. So what we do is for folks, there is eligibility criteria for opening what we call a complaint. But that is not to discourage anybody from calling and asking for ideas, supports. Don't try and figure out your own eligibility. Let us figure that out for you. And if you're eligible, you're cool. If not, we're not going to leave you hanging. We'll have ideas, we'll have things, resources, ways to navigate this system that is in constant flux. In the time it took me to finish this sentence, there's probably a new policy or a policy that changed that influences and affects the way we receive home health care services, right? So hopefully for the better. But the main thing behind this program is to help folks make sure that they get the quality and quantity of home health care services that they're entitled to, that we've paid good money into. Right? We've paid good money for these programs. It better be good. What we've learned is over the 30 years that Access Living has been around and the few years that we've been involved in this program, that it's been some hard learning curves between the introduction of managed care, the alignment initiative, streamlining services for those who are more commonly known as dual eligible, This is Medicaid and Medicare. That's really what the program is about. That's the bread and butter behind this, is folks who are on this new privatization of dual eligible services. So that's Medicaid, Medicare. But if you're also on a DHS waiver, specifically the disability waiver, the HIV/AIDS waiver, the brain injury waiver, some folks might identify that as the traumatic brain injury, but they just call it brain injury now, brain injury waiver, or if you're a senior 60 and better, the aging waiver or community care program, okay? These would be the things that would cause you to be eligible to file what we call a complaint. And this is a formal complaint registered with the state of Illinois and the federal government, and so they get all this information about whatever's happening with your home health care services. Now, what does that look like? Well, a lot of the phone calls we get, hey, Scott, Ombudsman, I'm being told by my current insurance company that I can't see the doctor of my choice, and I've been seeing this doctor, I've been seeing this specialist for years now, I've got a close relationship with them. Help. I want to continue seeing this specialist or this doctor. Let's see what we can do. Let's call the client enrollment broker, see if there's another plan. Let's see if we can't negotiate with the doctor's office to get them to flex a little bit and accept the insurance plan, because that's really where that begins. And a lot of the times the doctors aren't the ones who are making these decisions. It's the folks in the office. It's the office staff that are making these kinds of decisions, okay? So oftentimes the doctor's like not even having a clue what's going on as it relates to these kinds of things. Another phone call that we might get is folks calling us and saying, you know, help, my wheelchair's falling apart. It's held together by duct tape and a prayer. I've been trying to call some folks, and I'm not getting a response. Or I'm getting the runaround, and folks are telling me that it's somebody else's responsibility. I called the wheelchair repair place. They said the doctor didn't initial page 14 of some weird document. Called the doctor's office. They say, well, it's the insurance company's fault because they haven't approved this yet, and I've submitted the documents X number of times. They go to DHS, and you see where this is going, right? Just spinning, spinning, spinning. And meanwhile, the person in the wheelchair is sitting there rotting in their living room just trying to get out. And they having to call, and seriously, they having to call 911 every time they want to get out of the house. You know about this, right? Having to call a fire department just to get out your own apartment because your wheelchair's not broken because folks are spinning the wheel on you? Wrong answer. Call us. Call us, we'll stop that wheel from spinning, okay? We'll get to the root of the problem, and the buck stops here, all right? Other problems that we have, this is a big one, especially, and there'll be a segue into another conversation eventually, but this badge allows me, so this is a cute little badge that's given to me by the state of Illinois. It's signed by someone who's more important than me, and and so this entitles me to have certain access to medical records and this, that, and the other with your consent, okay? What it does not allow me to do is talk about things that I really like talking about, and that's the budgetary issues, you know, certain administrations that are doing this, that, and the other. So when I can't talk about this, I'm trying to find a room full of people like y'all who will help me raise my voice when I can't speak about these things, okay? So for those of you that were applauding and booing before, I need your help because I'm silenced by this. I can't talk about those things, okay? What I can talk about is what happens when you get these weird letters in the mail that are in a language a lot of us can't understand, okay? And this is some kind of legal government language thing. And the bottom line is they're threatening to either cut or eliminate your services. They give you what? Yeah, boo, this is boo, boo. Or they've already done it, as Judy has said, because the letter was, they'll say the letter was sent or it's lost in the mail, whatever. Call us. We will be with you at your side during that appeal hearing. Well, Scott, oh, gee whiz, what's an appeal? The appeal is something, again, what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, when you get these letters, make sure that you're aware of what your rights are. And what one of your rights is to appeal these kinds of decisions, okay? They're supposed to allow you to appeal when you are denied services or access to any of the kind of assistive technology devices that were just talked about, okay? These kinds of things, that wheelchair repair, that wheelchair replacement, no, you're denied, you can't have that. Stand up, fight back. And sometimes it's hard to do that by yourself. Sometimes it's hard to do that by yourself. I know a lot of folks, they're working with a 200-minute government cell phone. How are you going to be sitting on hold for 45 minutes at a time, and when you finally get an answer, they say, sorry, not my problem. Next caller, please. Wrong answer. The wrong answer. The right answer is, we'll be the ones to sit on hold for 45 minutes, and then when they finally pick up, we'll say, okay, hold up a second. Let me conference call a person in, because this person is the voice that needs to be heard. Yours are the voices that need to be heard, and they're trying to silence those voices. We ain't going to let that happen, okay? So the way that you can have your voice heard, is one of many things, is to call this phone number. Call this phone number. There are a handful of hotlines here at Access Living. There's a housing hotline. It's going to go to voicemail. There's a legal hotline. It's going to go to voicemail. You call this phone number 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. If it ain't a federal holiday and this building's closed, and a lot of federal holidays we open anyway, a human being is going to answer. Okay? We have staff on site who speak Spanish, speak Arabic, speak English. If there is another language that you prefer that's more accessible to you, we have interpreter services that we can use. So there's no reason not to contact us. And if phone isn't something that is accessible to you, there's an email address as well, ombudsman@accessliving.org. Okay? There's no reason for our voices to be silenced. The only other plug is, I can't go to Springfield because of this badge. I love this badge, but it's cumbersome as hell. I can't do certain things. So when we're going to Springfield in April and in May, and we're talking about the things that I can't talk about, do me a solid. Go. Tell them Scott Nance sent you, and be pissed off, okay?
Do people have questions for Scott? He's here for a few more minutes. I see a few hands going up. William, make sure your mic's on. And Sandy, take that side of the room and that side. And I just want to remind people, is there anybody here that didn't get signed in at the desk at the entrance? We want to make sure we capture everybody. I just want to remind you that signing in is very important. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so questions.
Yeah. I just have one quick question. This is Susan Riley. Do you have to live in Chicago?
Excellent question. For this particular phone number, yes. This is eligible for folks living in the city of Chicago. Age range is 18 and better. Okay, so anybody 18 and up, but I welcome anybody to call us. But, Susan, this program is available to anyone across the state of Illinois. And in fact, it's a national thing. So it's a federal thing. But you call us, we can point you in the right direction. There's also an 800 number that folks can contact. I think it's a particularly powerful phone number, so much so that I got it memorized by rote. It's 800-252-8966. It's branded as the senior helpline. Don't let that fool you. This is for anybody 18 and better. It's for anybody across the state of Illinois who is looking for these kinds of services, not just in the home and community, but also in long-term care settings. The other beautiful thing I love about this phone number is it's also the Colbert hotline. So for our brothers and sisters that are still locked up in nursing facilities and want out and don't know how or don't have that information on how, that's a phone number to give them. That's the first step to getting out. 800-252-8966. That phone number is not on any of the literature I gave you, but I strongly recommend plugging that thing into your phone because that's the winner right there. Next question. Is that good, Susan?
Yeah. After you found out the expiration date of your current medical carrier, when is the soonest that you can call to get a new one?
Anytime. Depends on the carrier, I reckon, but I figure anytime. The client enrollment broker would be the first step. That number I do not have memorized by rote, but it's an easy enough thing to get. And so what the client enrollment broker does is for folks, again, who are eligible, they will provide you an unbiased response to what is going to be the best fit for your needs and what's accessible to you, what you're eligible for. And that's a difficult thing, too. That's a whole other mess. The 1115 waiver, that's a good Lord, I'm starting all these conversations that could spend another 45 minutes on each. But the client enrollment broker is a simple answer. That's the simplest, best answer I have for you. Anything else, I'm happy to have a side conversation. I don't want to eat up too much more of this because we have an agenda. Okay, so I think we've got Donna first. Let's have Donna go next.
Hi, my name is Donna K. Shaw, and I had a question with regard to the deaf and hard of hearing community. My experience has been that often deaf and hard of hearing folks are confused about the communication or when they have to call 911. Often I'll call and there will be no answer. You know, when I'm having an asthma attack and I try to call through 911 and I can't talk to the person and they transfer me to another video phone because that telephone's not working. I'm wondering, what can I do if something happens and I have to walk over to my next door neighbor to help me out because my video phone's not working or my power's out? The deaf and hard of hearing people need communication through video phones and 911. There needs to be some sort of backup system invented if the power's out and your video phone doesn't work. That's my first question. My second question is with regard to an ambulance arriving at a person's home. There's no communication at all. I can't breathe, so I can't talk. I can't communicate with the paramedics, with the emergency personnel. And I have this ID necklace that tells them what my issues are so that they can proceed, but often the communication is not there when there's a paramedic or an ambulance involved.
So I think the answer to the first question is working with the managed care organizations. Part of, I don't know if folks were, there are a lot of folks in the room I recognize who were here when managed care was a theory and was kind of sort of deliberated on in public-ish. And so the theory was that this was going to be a service that was going to improve how health care services are delivered in the state of Illinois. We knew then what we know now. It wasn't going to be as easy as they thought it was going to be, right? So we put the onus on the managed care organization. The health care provider, the care coordinator, they're the ones who are responsible for each individual person's quality of service. And so if that means interpretive services, if that means resources available in languages other than English or in methods other than smooth print, then they're the ones that need to be making sure that the communication and the delivery of services is what it needs to be. And that's for every individual. And they'll all tell you the same thing. They'll all claim that the individual is at the center of everything they do. But in practice, we find it's a different story most of the time, right? And I'm being pragmatic. The answer to your second question, Donna, is a little more complicated. I have a harder time answering that. I think that that's another opportunity to educate the first responders the same way that there's an effort to educate police force and first responders as it relates to folks especially with autism or psychiatric disabilities. I think this is something that needs to be included in that conversation because you're absolutely right. The communication breaks down and people end up getting hurt more than they were before they called 911 because they're not getting the quality of communication and service that is available to the public. And so, yeah, I'm just spitballing on how to, on where the solution is. I think this is a conversation that needs to continue. Two more questions. I see Vincent, and then I got somebody sitting next to Mary.
When I came down here, I had been trying on my own for 2 years to get a new wheelchair. And they gave me all kind of excuses, and they told me that they weren't concerned about when I left my apartment. As soon as I came down here, they sent 2 people to my house. They started working on it. They wouldn't take no for an answer. And a few months later, I got a wheelchair. And it has really been, it has changed my life. I came down here for the wheelchair. I went through the housing department. Now I'm with this fine Miss Mary now in the other class. And I just want to thank everybody. And if you have any doubts about calling, they will fend for you. They're not going to take no for an answer. And they will really help you. I want to thank you.
And I'm going to put it back on you, LaShonda. Thank yourself, because you're the one who went through it, you're the one who picked up the phone, and you're the one who fought to make this happen. Okay, you helped yourself. We were there along the way to support your voice. Okay, so thank yourselves. When you have the wherewithal to reach out for help, it's not a bad thing. No one goes through this alone. Okay, no one goes through this alone. Vincent gets last call. Kathy, you cool? I'll come and see you. Or can we squeeze in Kathy? No, let's do Vincent. Let's do Vincent, and then we'll see if Tom will let you get a last word in.
Real quick, asking her help me with my home care situation. Yeah, it was amazing. The kid manager wanted me going to an agency. She was right from there. Pick my own PA. She said I'm not able to hire my own PA.
So what Vincent is saying is that, was it the insurance company that was saying this to you?
No, the DSS.
So DRS, DHS was telling Mr. Smith that because he was mismanaging his personal attendant services, and I'm going to hazard a guess and say it has something to do with that EVV thing, that he was no longer able to manage his own personal attendant services. I can tell you, I've known Mr. Smith for a long time. The guy is the consummate professional. I'd love to work for him.
And one more thing, real quick. For volunteer, I get an ID card, for an emergency ID card. You can get it at City Hall.
I think I missed
ID card for emergency. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Vince said that in case of a medical emergency, he went to City Hall and got an ID card. Is that correct? Room 100. So you're recommending that for people that might conceivably have emergencies? Yeah. Oh, okay. Kathy, if you can get a mic over there, we'll let you do one question, and then we want to get Charlie on up here.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. This is a quick one, Scott. Can the Ombudsman help us get our records from DHS for our review?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Simply put, yes. A lot of folks don't know that they're allowed to and have a right to their service plan, the decisions that were made, like why they were declined or denied services or were eliminated or cut or whatever. And so it's simple answer is yes. They are supposed to be able to give that to you without us. We shouldn't have to be involved, but and sadly we have been. We've been in situations like that. The darndest thing is just getting them to return the phone call. You know, that good Lord, like 9 times out of 10, this feels like what the complaint is. It's a pretty quick and easy win, but it's a pain in the butt just to get them to return the call. So DHS, I'm looking at you. Just return the call. That solves half the problems, man.
Thank you, Scott. Let's give Scott a big hand of applause.